Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized together with Flux50 and RWE and Cluster Tweed. So we are here very glad to welcome you to this web session where where you will be able to ask a question regarding some contest relative to the offshore wind. So please keep your micro off and address your question via the chat during the proposition and the speaks of RWE. And so today, this morning, very quickly, we'll introduce the two clusters, Flux50 and Cluster Tweed, and then we'll let Martin van Gemeert speaks about the global strategy of the group and the Belgian actors. And we will, after that, listen to Dan Boosman, who will speak specifically about the innovation competition that RWE is proposing. And so after that, during 20 minutes, you will be able to ask a question via the chat, and Flux50 and myself will address the questions. Very quickly, so Cluster Tweed, Tweed ASBL is now hosting two cluster different, so Cluster H2O since 1 year and Cluster Tweed for energy side since 15 years. And we are active in many sectors, different sectors with main aspect on energy storage, H2 and synthetic fuels with the H2 Hub platform we launched. We are also active in local energy organization with CERAC initiative, so where we host all the ecosystem and all the project, and more on the district heating. So we are active on different sides, and innovation is one of our skills and one of our job we propose to the actor of energy. So we organize with the offshore wind sector, we organize already some webinar. You will find here the slides. And so all that to say that, of course, offshore is federal, and we want to bring and to offer the possibility of the Wallon actors to work together with the Flemish and the Brussels actors to build some good proposition in different way. And the way we propose here is one of these. And we did this kind of value chain offshore with Cedric, my colleague, and where you can see that all the industrial actor, research centers and universities takes some place in the value chain of the wind offshore development, and of course with the big new Elizabeth district on North Sea. For the innovation side, of course, Tweed sometimes, and very gladly with Flux50, we organize some building of project of innovation. So we stimulate, we construct the project, we make the operationalization phase, and also we work on the valorization of the output and trying to make some transversal work between all projects relative to one sector. So from TRL 1, 2, 3, 4, with some very high level of brain, and also we try to get more and more to the application of the projects with some possibilities, either federal with Belco and Fond Transition, and also with some industrial proposition like we have now today. Voilà, very shortly for myself, I will maybe let the floor to Guy. Guy, are you here?
Yes, thank you, Renaud.
Thank you.
So I'm Guy Vekemans. I'm a coordinator for the team of energy harbors at Flux50. And so Flux50 is the spearhead cluster for energy, for sustainable energy in Flanders. We're an ecosystem of about 220 companies from energy sector, IT sector, construction sector. And of course, we have different topics where we work on to connect, to accelerate, and to, in fact, inspire new innovations in the energy transition. One of the focus groups we work on is large-scale energy storage and security of supply, which illustrates that we do not look only at the separate energy technologies, but also in the integration of those technologies into a coherent energy action plan. meaning integration of different energy vectors, integration of different energy sectors, and also cross-border elements. So that energy action plan is quite important for us. Next slide, please. And for all those focus groups and also for large-scale energy storage and security supply, we have also, as Cluster Tweed explained, we have our roadmaps and we have our value chains. And here you see the example of the value chain of that large-scale energy storage and security of supply, going from renewable generation over conversion, for instance, power to X technologies, distribution and transport, HVDC lines, pipelines, shipping, of course, the integration aspect, control aspect, and finally the end use aspect. And also here you can see different types of companies linked to that value chain. Connected to the arrows, you can see several examples of projects that we're working on. So we also have funding of the Flemish government that we try to manage also into those projects. And you can see that in different parts of the value chain, we have those projects. Cordoba, for instance, specifically on offshore wind. Green Ports is project converting offshore wind into hydrogen. ArcLat is, for instance, new types of hydrogen storage. Induflex control more on the energy management, and that's how we try to combine different innovations in that value chain. Next slide, please. This is the example of the Cordoba project. Cordoba, and I have to look a little bit, stands for the Coordinated Development of Hybrid Offshore Assets. And that's also a thing that we see quite important as innovation topic coming up, that hybrid offshore assets. So not one wind park with one connection line to the mainland, but interconnection between different wind parks, between different energy vectors combined with storage, combining connections with different countries, and the whole management, design, operation of that hybrid offshore asset or parks that is quite important in our innovations. So this is an example of this project, and you can find more details on the link below. Perhaps one thing also to mention here, we do also some of these projects together with our sister cluster, the Blue Cluster in Flanders. Blue Cluster is linked to everything that happens on the sea. Yeah, next slide. And of course, we try to inspire the rest of the ecosystem with these projects. For instance, here we had a corporate day at Fluxys in Zeebrugge, 16th of February this year, where a lot of presentations on innovation in offshore wind were given. Next slide, please. Of course, also the cooperation with other countries is important, as I said. And therefore, for instance, we signed North Sea Manifest. You can see the second on the right is our director Frederik Lux. He signed together with Danish, Norwegian, and German partners the North Sea Manifest in October last year for innovation cooperation between the countries. It was signed in Esbjerg, where also the ministers of the different countries signed the offshore wind cooperation. And I think this is the main message I want to say. Yeah, so hoping to see a lot of inspiring ideas from your side. And if you need to contact us or want to contact us, please feel free. Thank you.
Thank you, Guy. So maybe we'll start the presentation of RWE with Martine.
Yes, thank you. I think the presentation is also launched on the screen. Can you see it?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you, Martine.
Ah, great. Yes. Well, my name is Martine van Gemert. I work for RWE as a project developer in the Benelux team, offshore wind in the Netherlands, based in the Netherlands. And I will give you a short overview on the general aspects of our company, and then I will hand over to Daan, my colleague, and he will give you more information about the innovation competition we're in. RWE is, as it stated, a global leader in the offshore wind. but we are doing a lot of things. RWE is already a very old company based with the origin in Germany, 120 years old already, and it will not surprise you that we have a history in fossil fuel energy production. But we are in a huge transition, and as you can see on this slide, we are organized in several operational companies. The RWE power part, which is on the right side of the screen, it concerns actually our history, and this is being phased out. We are mainly focusing on the new energy transition fields of attention. So we're organized in RWE Renewables, where we are based, focusing on offshore wind, onshore wind, solar, and also storage is very important within the group. Then we also have a large company, part of the company based working on supply and trading, and also the generation part, which also contains the fossil fuel plants we have, and which are being transformed also into biomass and other ways of making use in the energy transition. Focusing on the offshore wind part, we are the second largest company worldwide active in this business. At this moment, we have about 3 gigawatts in operation worldwide, and it will only have to be more and more the coming years. So this is really where the focus of our company is at the moment. Next slide. Yeah, so just to give you an insight, we have the target, the strategy growing green, and up to 2030, we want to invest 50 billion euros to be invested in a capacity of 50 gigawatts of green capacity, production capacity. And a large part of that will be in offshore wind. At this moment, we already have globally a very diversified portfolio in energy transition, really focusing on the green energy. At this moment, we have a big stake in the onshore wind. Offshore wind is growing rapidly. Solar is also an important part, and energy storage is also very important to have this transition working. And yeah, actually the world is our focus market. So yeah, globally oriented. And then focusing on our own areas, in Belgium, we have activities. We are shareholder in the Sea Power offshore wind farm, as you will know it. Long-term PPA off-taker of Northwester 2 offshore wind farm. We plan to build a large battery storage near the Dutch border in Limburg. And we have the ambition to participate in the Princess Elizabeth Zone offshore wind farm. In the Netherlands, we have a bit more activities. We are actually the largest producer of electricity in the Netherlands already, with a lot of onshore wind and solar projects, amongst other things. And at the end of last year, we won the HK West 7 wind farm site. So we are at this moment also preparing the construction of this wind site. We have the ambition to grow further because the North Sea is core for RWE, and that makes the Benelux also a core market for RWE. And so we're not only constructing the HK West site, this is only the start for us to explore the North Sea further. I will then hand over to my colleague Daan.
All right, thank you, Martine. And to continue on the story of Martine, in order to really expand that market on the North Sea, so in the Benelux region, but also in other countries that border the North Sea, such as Denmark, the UK, and Norway, it's important that growth in offshore wind goes hand in hand with a sustainable growth in offshore wind, because the construction of offshore wind farms is, of course, a really good thing and can really help us going through the renewable energy transition. But of course, it also has some downsides. And in order to basically counter and tackle those downsides and guarantee, or at least stimulate the sustainable growth of our offshore wind farms worldwide, we are always looking for innovations. For example, we've been working on a German project of ours in Kaskasi, where we installed basically the first world recyclable wind turbines blades from Siemens Gamesa. That wind farm is now in operation since the end of last year, so since December of 2022. And on a few of those turbines, we used a different kind of turbine blade that can be recycled as such to really make sure that we keep materials within our own supply chain and make sure that we don't overuse the amount of raw materials. Another aspect that we're also assessing or researching is making sure that once we want to install our turbines, we reduce our noise emissions. Of course, the construction and operation of offshore wind farms can have quite a negative or maybe not such a positive impact, let's put it at that, on local biodiversity, both on bird life that's flying across the different wind farms, but also on sea life that needs to, needs to work and live with the fact that some sort of artificial construction project is realized in their sea. Another aspect that's also important, apart from ecology and circularity, basically, that are mentioned here, is the topic of system integration. We all know that wind farm electricity production from offshore wind is variable, and as such, it's important to make sure that we don't push the onshore grid too much, that we look for solutions where we can have more flexibility within our system in the form of either flexible demand assets, making sure that we know how much electricity we will produce at any moment in time, and as such, make sure that we can minimize our curtailments and make sure that all the electricity that we produce goes into the grid in a normal and sustainable fashion. And as such, we now host this year for the second time an innovation competition on these three topics. Last year, we did this as well. Turned out really successful. We really focus on the topics of system integration and ecology. And this year, we want to expand the topic of circularity for numerous reasons, one of them being, of course, the geopolitical developments that are going on a worldwide level. We want to make sure that the materials that we use to go through this energy transition are within the European market or within the markets that are necessary, and that there's not one major monopolist on a worldwide level that supplies certain materials or certain aspects of an offshore wind turbine or any other renewable energy technologies. And as such, we're looking for solutions on these three topics. On the topic of system integration, it's really solutions that can contribute to enhancing system flexibility. You can think of battery storage, you can think of hydrogen production, you can think of whatever kind of solution that might be a bit more revolutionary than the normal battery that can really help in realizing this sustainable growth in offshore wind on a worldwide level. On ecology, we're really looking for solutions that contribute to the enhancement of local ecosystems. So either it should reduce negative impacts or it should promote positive impacts. You can think of, for example, the use of artificial reefs, new installation methods that reduce the noise pollution, and so on. And on the topic of circularity, could that maybe use your charger? Sorry, I see that. Thank you. Sorry, my laptop was almost going down. Let's continue. And on the topic of circularity, we're really looking for solutions that help in increasing the circularity in offshore wind farms. So it either needs to make sure that the materials that we use can be recycled to the fullest extent, or that we make use of less raw materials by basically using a different kind of design, making use of a more modular design, and with the result that it minimizes the waste and maximizes the value of the offshore wind turbine or of the offshore wind farm at the end of life. Okay, that's on the topic, that's on why we're hosting this innovation competition. But what are some ground conditions that we ask to the market before you apply for this competition? It's basically threefold. A solution should be some sort of proven or feasible concept. So if you have an idea, if you have a concept, either hardware or software, it would be preferred that it's either tested in the lab or that you can at least prove that the concept is working. It doesn't have to be a pilot in the operational environment. It doesn't have to be a demonstration in the operational environment, but it at least needs to be shown that it can work and can have a positive impact on either of the three topics. The solution should also be sustainable and should cause no harm to the environment. So if you have a really nice battery technology, but it uses a lot of toxic materials that might be not so beneficial for the local ecology or biodiversity of an offshore wind farm, it's of course not an interesting innovation for us to further assess, because we're really looking for that sustainable growth in offshore wind worldwide. And we also want to make sure that we can push these innovations to a certain maturity level, being the TRL 7, to really make sure that because there are a lot of offshore wind farms coming up on a worldwide level, that we can actually deploy these kinds of solutions in a relatively short time frame within our offshore wind farms to really test them, scale them, and mature them to a level that we can basically use it in our standard design at some point in time. Okay, that's only ground conditions, but what's really in it for you? It's basically twofold. Last year's competition was really focused on our Dutch project, so basically the HK West 7 project. And the winners of the innovation competition were actually included in the bids of the HK West 7 project and are now further developed. But this year, we really want to expand that scope because we see that not only in the Netherlands, but also in Belgium for the Princess Elizabeth Zone, but also in other countries such as Denmark, Germany, the UK, and even in the US and Taiwan, we see that these qualitative aspects of an offshore wind farm become more and more important, both in the bidding phase, but also later on in the construction phase. So we want to grant the winners of this competition the access to that global offshore wind portfolio and see where there is the best fit of the different participants or the different winners to be included either in our bids or either in our projects post-bid, if that's of course an opportunity to really potentially test that solution and then include it in a bid and then mature it to a larger level. And another aspect of it is that winners will be included in our technical innovation program team. That's really a global team. We are now hosting this on behalf of the Offshore Wind Development BENELUX aspect, but you will be included in a global program where you have the access to engineers, procurement managers, financial managers that can help you further develop and scale your solution to that certain technology readiness level. But they will also make sure that you have access to test sites to realize this further development and scaling. That's on what's in it for you. A little bit on the timeline. We're already quite advanced in the innovation competition itself. It was launched early March, but we got this really nice opportunity from Cluster Tweed and Flux 50 to promote this innovation competition. But that does mean that our innovation competition will close on the 17th of April. Then on the 24th of April, we will review all the different submissions and reach out to the people that submitted a proposal, whether they will go through to the next round or not. And the next round is really a pitch event where we will deep dive. There will be commercial people such as Martina and I, but there will also be more diehard engineers that say, okay, might be really good for our projects, might seem like a really nice idea to facilitate the sustainable growth of offshore wind, but it seems technically impossible. After that pitch event, we will go through with a limited number of participants to go through the technical review, technical due diligence, and make sure that we have a finalization of these technical discussions, but also commercial discussions. So basically how our cooperation agreements or contracts will look like in the summer of 2023, so that we can really have an award ceremony with all the different winners at the end of 2023. And also make sure that from that moment onwards, people will be included, or the participants, or the winners actually, will be included in that technical innovation program. And we can really start that phase of facilitation of the test sites to further scale and develop your solution. And I think that's it from my side. We will share this presentation. I think we'll also ask Renaud to confirm that with you. Of course. After this presentation. There's a link here also on the website if you want to have a little bit more detailed information. And for now, I want to leave the floor for questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Martine and Dan. It was very, very interesting, I think, for this proposition. So, of course, the goal of this webinar is to be registered, to be also disseminated, distributed. Sorry, and also for the people to be able to ask some questions. I received some questions by SMS, but I don't know if there is some people here with some question in the room. I will wait a few seconds.
I see a question coming in
Yes.
on the management of intellectual property in this open contest. Well, first of all the applications that will come in will not be shared any further with other participants. If you feel like you share something that might be too much detail, too much information that you don't want to share with us, we are open to sign NDAs from both sides. And if you will be shortlisted and invited to the pitch event, we will sign an NDA between both parties in any way. And as such, make sure that intellectual property rights will be protected.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And I have also another question I received asking about what kind of thematic, is there some thematic more relevant and some thematic not relevant? You speak about storage, we listen about hydrogen. Is it something you wait specially, or something you don't wait, but people can think they are in, just to tease a little bit and to give some lines?
Yeah, of course. What really is also the goal of this competition is to really find those technologies or innovation that is not really on our radar already. So, for example, battery storage or e-boilers, things like that are usual suspects on the topic of system integration, or the use of artificial reefs or noise reduction piling systems are usual suspects on the topic of ecology. What we also really hope is to find those solutions that don't come to our mind at first, but would fit really nicely in either the topic of system integration, ecology, or circularity that we haven't already found, or that wasn't really on our radar. So please be as open as you can, but link your solution really well to the topic that we're asking the questions for. So on the website and also in this presentation, we really said we're looking for solutions that contribute to this topic in this and this way. And on the website, it's a little bit more detailed. And if you have a solution that we might not immediately think would link to either of the topics, but you can explain it in such a way that's really creative, really innovative, and might really bring a lot of value on both the short and the long term for offshore wind offshore wind farms, please apply with your solution. And we're happy to assess it and hopefully invite you then as well to the pitch event.
Thank you for the answers. There is some question about Mr. Simpu. Do you consider autonomous drone OEM for wind turbine relevant for the integration section of the competition? Is this applicable?
Yeah, of course. Maybe not for integration, but more maybe on the topic of circularity, for example, making less use of ships to sail out, or optimizing not the design, but also the operation of your offshore wind farm by using drones instead of other kinds of materials that might be more polluting or more negative, have a larger negative impact on the topic of circularity or on the topic of ecology, for example. But it's also really up to what the exact solution is, how it can contribute to either of the topics. But autonomous drones for O&M is something that we've come across, not in the competition already, but I've got this question a few times already. And it's really something that we're definitely open to.
Thank you. Voilà. Emmanuel, thanks you also. Is there other questions in the room? Well, otherwise, okay, we can also, we'll maybe share also your coordinates like this. We can maybe put you in contact with the people who ask more question, or the people who will listen to us later on. They can also get in contact with you, or reverse with Flux50 also. We try exactly to push the good ideas, and I've also personally some ideas. I will maybe try to get in contact with you for this contest. Okay. So there is no other question. Maybe I don't know, Guy, if you have a word, or you want some question, you want to ask some questions. Sorry.
No additional questions. Perhaps one small one. Is there a list? You mentioned the examples of the Dutch contest last year. Is there a list of selected projects that can be found somewhere on that as an inspiration?
You mean the selected winners, or?
Yes.
Yeah. On the website, there is also a link to the previous competition. So the one that we hosted last year, and there you can find information on the winners of the innovation competition itself. Okay. So as I will share this website or this presentation with Renaud after this meeting, and hopefully he can then share it around further with the participants of this meeting. And then you can see via the link also the previous winners of the competition of last year.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Thank you. So, of course, we'll share all this information. There is the first step is 18th of April to your first proposal. So do not hesitate to ask your question before or get in contact. And we'll also make maybe the following of the results of the contest in a few months with everyone.
Oh, certainly. We will do that as well with you then, of course, so that you can also share it around.
Voilà, thank you very much. Thank you to RWE, Flux50, and I see also that the federal is present in the room. So thank you for your support. Of course, we always try to make some good federal and national teams for this good energy transition to be able to succeed it. And voilà, hello Anne. And if there is no words, I propose to finish here and to keep in contact for the next.
Yes, thank you very much, Renaud, for hosting this this webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So much. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.